Welcome to a new era of dentistry, the ultimate podcast for uncovering the latest trends, breakthroughs, and real-life stories in the dental industry, hosted by Ashley Bond with Wisdom, along with co-host Stephanie Neville. This podcast will explore hot topics, chat with industry leaders, and share the stories that are redefining how dental professionals enhance patient care and the dental practice environment. Let's get started and reshape the future of dental care together, one episode at a time. On today's episode of A New Era of Dentistry, we have a very special guest. We, of course, have our Chief Dental Billing Officer, Ashley Bond, on with us today, but we also have Dayna Johnson, who's collaborated with Ashley a great deal in the past, bringing 30 years of experience, not only to the show, but to the dental community. She's been recognized as one of the top 25 women in dentistry. She's been featured on several influential platforms like the Thriving Dentist Show, and has contributed to reputable dental publications like Dental Podcast Report magazine. She also hosts the High Performing Dental Team and her membership Navone, the premier Dentrix community. She is going to answer some burning questions about Dentrix and give us some really great insight. So that being said, I want to hand it over to Ashley. Ashley, what questions and topics are you seeing trend that we could pick Dayna's brain about today?
Yes, thank you, Dayna, so much for being on here.
No, thank you.
I know working in my dad's practice, he had Dentrix, and you were just the Dentrix guru. And that was before I even knew you personally, that my father would always say, "What would Dayna do when it came to Dentrix?" So happy you're on today to help
Thank,
our listeners.
thank you. I appreciate that. I'm always here to answer questions. Just like you, I've been in dentistry for a long time and it's always evolving, so we're constantly learning as well.
Absolutely. And just like insurance, Dentrix is always updating and changing. So I would love to know from you the 4 things that offices should be doing every day so that things don't get missed. If you want to
Yeah.
start with, what's the first thing?
Well, like you and I have always talked about, it seems like dental practices are just constantly putting accounts receivable management and revenue cycle management on the back burner. It just seems like they never make it a priority. It's just always these to answer our emails, and we have to answer the phone, and we have patients coming in and out. And if they don't make accounts receivable like a high priority, they're not going to make payroll. It's just amazing how many calls I get. I know you do too, when they've put accounts receivable off so long that now the doctor's not getting paid. It's crazy. The one thing that I feel is kind of, people don't do there's like 4 things that offices should be doing like every single day. And then there's the revenue cycle management that offices should be doing every week. So there's this daily task, there's this daily workflow, and then there's this weekly workflow. So the 4 things that you were just talking about, I really started to drive into my practices like every single day. You should be doing these 4 things. And so number 1 is they should balance their day.
Yes.
Come on. I talk to offices all the time and I'm like, okay, so tell me who in the practice is responsible for running the day sheet.
Yep.
And they're like, what's a day sheet? The number 1 thing that you should be doing every day is balancing your day sheet.
Yes.
And of course, the pushback I get is we don't have time. And I go, well, okay, let's work with that. You don't have time to balance the entire day sheet. So how can we maybe delegate parts of it to other team members? Maybe you give each of your hygienists their own day sheet and each of your dental assistants their own day sheet, and they have to balance their daily transactions. And then so that gets some of it off the front office or the admin's shoulders. But then you have to balance the money, so who's balancing the checks, who's balancing the ERAs, who's balancing the credit cards, so the number 1 thing that you need to do every single day is balance your day. Now, when I was in my own practice, a lot of team members will say, well, gosh, by the time I get to the end of the day, I want to go home. And I go, I do too. So do it the next morning. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to stay late to balance your day, but get it done within 24 hours. So I would come in the next morning, and also just to give my hygienists or my dental assistants like the time that they might need, because they'll walk in the next morning and they'll say, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell you we did a build up on Mrs. Jones yesterday with that crown on number 30. I always gave my team some grace, or they'll come in and they'll say, oh, we took a PA on that front tooth of Johnny yesterday. So I always balance my day the next morning. Then I was more refreshed. So balance the day is number one. Number two is then send out your claims. You must send out your claims within 24 hours, and all claims go electronically. That's a non-negotiable.
I love that you say that's non-negotiable. There's a lot of offices that are still mailing the claims. And I love that you put that strategically after day sheet checking. Then you send the claims. And when you brought up like that grace, it's funny because Steph and I were just at a conference together with my sister, and she was a hygienist when I was the office manager, and I would give her so much trouble. We had a system that you returned in the route slip when you brought the patient up. You had to circle what you did or add anything that was done, put their next visit with the time units, and then I would use that in the morning to check it against the day sheet. And then if you did not fill out your route slip, I would kind of playfully shame you in the morning huddle by returning your route slip in front of everybody. And we can laugh about it now, but my sister was one of the worst offenders there on getting her route slip passed back.
Yeah. And, there's so many different ways that offices can have a workflow for making sure that everything is done in a timely manner. And, I was on a discovery call with a doctor just last Friday, and he says, I'm the worst. I don't get my clinical notes done on time. And I said, okay, well, how can we help support you with that? It's how can we help support our team to get those tasks done? Clinical notes, the next appointment schedule, the specific treatment posted properly. I mean, how can we help support our team members to make sure that those tasks get done within 24 hours so that we can get paid? It's all about getting paid. I mean, because if we don't get paid, then team members are going to start losing their jobs. Or we get phone calls from the doctor's spouse that is not able to pay the bills at the home, and so everything we talk about is there for a reason. And no matter what your workflow is, if you're using Signature Manager inside of Dentrix to make sure your doctors are getting their clinical notes done so you can attach it to the claim, we have lots of systems that we can manage to make sure that these tasks get done. But getting the claims out within 24 hours and 100% electronic, that is a non-negotiable for me, because just offices have to have a tracking system and just a workflow to make sure that everyone on the team gets paid. And, if we don't get the claims out, then we don't get paid.
Knowing your software and being able to use it. Because I know Dentrix now, actually, my sister brought this up about clinical notes. It has the reminder, clinical notes that aren't completed, which that was not a feature when I was in the office.
I know.
So making sure that your practice management software, every update, the new things that are there to help you so that your workflow is seamless.
Yes. And I don't know if maybe I haven't even told you yet, that I am now Dentrix Ascend certified.
Oh,
I know. So the last 3 weeks, I've been going through intense Ascend training and certification and shadowing. So I'm dual certified, and Dentrix Ascend has a really amazing dashboard that they have that shows you unprocessed claims, unsent claims. I mean, it's just this really great workflow. So it is about knowing your software. How do I find those claims that haven't been sent out? How do I find those claims that have been batched but not sent? How do I find those claims that have been rejected because there's no attachment or the birth date is missing? Knowing how to use all of those reports and systems is critical to make sure that all of your claims go out within 24 hours.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have day sheet, deposit slip, so crucial. Then you have your sending of your claims, so critical.
I know.
What would be the next big
So
thing.
third I put on the list is credit balance allocation. I am a big fan of doing ledger allocations. Now, I would say it's more optional, but in this day and age, I think that so many doctors want to see accurate reports. We have a lot of doctors that are getting paid on collections, and more practices are bringing on associates. And those associates want to see their production. They want to see the payments that are being applied to their production. And, just overall, we want more accurate data. And, so allocations is the way to do that. And in Dentrix, there is the provider credits balance manager report. It is super easy to use. If you do it every day, then it's no big deal. And it allocates, it just shuffles money around so that it makes sure that every provider's transactions are also being allocated with the right amount of money. So, for example, let's say that you had a patient that came in today for a checkup and cleaning, and the exam went to the doctor and the prophy went to the hygienist, and the patient wrote you a check for the treatment today, and you posted all of the money to the doctor. Well, then the hygienist, it looks like the hygienist treatment was never paid off. And the doctor now has been overpaid. So it looks like the doctor now has a big credit. And so, a lot of practices now don't want to see that. They want to see the money allocated to the right provider. And also money allocated to the right patient. Maybe you posted the payment to dad, and then dad has this huge credit, but the kids' appointments never get paid off. So it also just makes the ledgers cleaner. When your patients are requesting their end of the year statement, for their FSA account, it just makes the ledgers a lot cleaner. So I put allocations as number 3 on the list of 4 things every day.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
At my father's practice, when we got into it, it was only him. We were not allocating. Now I know the big importance and allocation of payments, adjustments, everything is crucial. You couldn't see a real balance without viewing the whole family, because some people
Right.
have credits, some people have balances. If you find yourself in that because it's been going on for so many years,
Yeah.
is there a way to clean it up, or do you have to manually go in? Like, can you retroactively clean it up, or do you physically have to go in and get them all corrected?
Yeah, I mean, you would just use that provider credit balances manager
Okay.
report, and you may have 3,000 accounts on that list. So it could take you 40 or 50 hours to get through it, but you can do it.
Yeah.
I've done it. I did it in my own practice. I did it when we brought on, so I worked with a family run practice, and the son came on as the new owner, and I cleaned it all up before because we were doing the same thing. I mean, it's very common.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to go through the whole list. Now, you could farm it out. I outsource it to a lot of my trusted partners to do it. So if you are interested and you don't want to do it in your office, but you want somebody to remote in and do it, you can just reach out and I'll give you some trusted people that do it every day.
Yeah. And I think the important thing is just start now. Start doing it today.
I know.
Because it does, you never know in the future if you're going to bring on an associate, or even if you are one doctor practice. So,
Exactly. If you're going to think about maybe selling your practice,
right.
depending on which report you look at, the report could look really weird. And then maybe a potential buyer might say, oh, no, I'm not interested because your reports are just funky.
Or if you want to pay the hygienist off of maybe their production or collections, like it is so important. So love that you put that up.
Yes. Yes. That's number 3 on the daily workflow. So number 4 is send billing statements every day. And so many people that I work with, and I still hear a lot of people train on monthly statements. And I'm like, stop doing monthly statements. I remember, in my own practice, when I would get ready to do monthly billing statements, it's the last day of the month or the first day of the new month, and now you're going to do statements. And I remember back then printing 200 or so billing statements sorting through each one, and then folding them, stuffing them in envelopes, and sending them off in the mail. And there are so many offices that still are doing that.
It is a majority
Yeah.
that we see are still doing it that way.
And so there's several things that monthly billing statements do. I mean, number one, it's extremely time consuming. It's a lot of work to manually go through a stack of billing statements every month. It's also super expensive when you mail statements in the mail. It is astronomical how much it costs the practice to send billing statements in the mail.
We always hear, I don't want to pay for electronic, like for Quick Bill. It pays for itself 10 times itself.
It pays for itself in like one statement run. So the national average to send a paper statement is at least $5. Okay. Why do you think that banks give you a credit, like a $5 credit off your monthly statement if you go into electronic billing? Because it costs the credit card companies or your bank at least $5 to send you a paper statement. If you're sending, say, 200 billing statements a month times $5, that's $1,000 a month just in paper costs and stamps. Okay. Quick Bill is, even if you just switch to Quick Bill, even if you still wanted to just send paper statements, if you switch over to Quick Bill is, I think, like 88 cents a statement. So if you're still sending paper statements but switch to Quick Bill, it would be $176 to send paper statements through Quick Bill. Now, I recommend that you go all the way to Quick Bill Premium if you're a Dentrix user, because then you can send electronic statements through text and email. And that is even cheaper than paper statements. It's even cheaper than $176 a month. So it's a no-brainer. But I know I kind of just went off a tangent.
No, it's so important because we do patient billing for offices, and that is one of the biggest pushbacks is for us. We know the native PMS's system to send electronic statements is critical to get it out fast and efficiently, and it is cheaper than printing to the office and having you take the salary of your team to stuff it, to get stamps, to get envelopes, to get the fancy paper. It saves money to do electronically. So I'm so glad that you went on that tangent.
I was working with a practice in Philadelphia area, pedo practice, and I was working with them a few years ago, and they were doing paper statements. And so one of the things that we implemented while I was there was sending statements electronically, text and email. And we did our first statement run while I was sitting at their office and sent out the statements. There was probably about maybe 80 or so statements went out. And we just watched the status change. So it went from sent to opened to viewed to paid. We had 13 paid like in 5 minutes as we watched it happen. That's a no-brainer because you send statements in the mail and not only are they expensive, but there's no tracking. There's no tracking at all. You don't even know if the patient gets it. And it could take 5 to 7 days for them to get their statement. So the reason why I do statements every day is that you never miss an account for a billing statement. And then, so a lot of office managers say, well, we do statements every day. Every time an insurance payment comes in, then we send a statement out through the ledger. And I'm like, that's not doing daily billing statements. That's forcing a statement out. So when does that patient get their next billing statement if they don't pay? When you do billing statements every day, then you never miss an account. They get a statement closer to their date of service, and everyone is still on a 30-day cycle. So it's like you might send 5 statements today. You might send 3 tomorrow. You might send 10, the next day. So it's not that you have this 200 statement run monthly. You might have, 3 or 4 statements a day to sort through, which is easy, super easy.
With the quick build really is just a few clicks of the button. And I could go down a lot of rabbit holes about like guarantor notes and how to use them and I'm going to try.
There's lots of details that we could go into, but and then the other thing with doing statements every day is you don't have to split up the alphabet. Just stop doing that, because there's this one little field inside of Dentrix that says, if not billed since. So you have a checkbox in there and you never have to change that date. Just let it default. It's going to search the system for any patient that has not received a statement in the last 30 days. And then, I mean, we could go down this rabbit hole forever, but another pushback I get is, well, we don't want to send a statement to an account that has a pending claim. And I'm like, why? You want to send a statement to that family because you need to give them the information that you are working on that claim for them. They should be informed about what's going on with their account. So, I always have my offices put a courtesy message on the statement that says, we send a courtesy statement to all of our patients in our practice. If you have a pending claim for a family member, please know that we are working on it on your behalf. If you have any questions, please call our office. So I think billing statements is a courtesy to all patients. It's not a collection management tool, process. It's a courtesy to your patients, and they should go out every day.
Glad you said that too, because there's a lot of back and forth between claims back, claims not being back. We always send statements even when claims are pending, even if I know the patient might overpay or underpay, but I rather them know right now what we're estimating. And then that's a whole other story about make sure you update your payment tables that we won't go down. But I want to get that paid, because otherwise what has happened is when we have withheld it, and say you have multiple family members that are constantly coming in, and that balance could stay a balance for months, years. We've seen
I agree.
that just keeps going. Or the patient, maybe the crown takes 3 months to get paid. By the time they get their statement, they're upset. They weren't given a heads up that they were going to that they owed something. So patients prefer to know as soon as possible what you think they're going to pay.
Patients deserve to be in the know.
Yes.
I mean, leaving them out of the loop is just going to make them frustrated, because you're right. I mean, they might not get a statement for 3 or 4 months, and then now the patient's mad.
Yeah, right. And that's too where I would evaluate, when I would send statements, and if I saw they were just in for a procedure and they have a balance, too, we need to sit back and say, okay, how did they leave without paying? Like, how did they get through? Like, what broke down that they're getting this statement when they were just in the office this week? So it's another way that you can see those gaps in your workflow.
Absolutely. Hopefully you never have any billing statements, but because the patient should be paying on the day of service. But I do feel that things fall through the cracks, or insurance pays differently than you expected, or just a lot of practices are still old school. And, they're still in that old school mindset where we send billing statements. And it's like, okay, well, if you want to do that, I mean, the value of the money is gone down. Once the patient balance has hit 30 days, you've already lost 15% of the value of that money. Once it hits 60 days past due, you've already lost 30 to 35% of the value of that money. So if you want to do that, that's fine, but I don't recommend it.
Okay, so 3 amazing tips. Do we have one more?
That was 4.
Guys, it's Monday. I can't count today.
Yeah, day sheet, claims, allocations, billing statements.
Love it. So if you're listening and you are not doing that every day, now is the time to start.
Now's the time.
There are so many features to Dentrix Ascend that teams can utilize. And sometimes when you're just in that crazy every day, you don't have a second to sit back to see how you can use your system for your office. So highly, highly recommend that our listeners reach out to Dayna to get that help when it comes to your practice management software. Would you tell the listeners a little bit about your program and what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a educational platform with support. And so we have core modules, core courses. We have a library with courses. So you can get your education, But then we also have weekly group coaching calls. So, any of our members just log in to our coaching room and they can ask whatever question they want, and we give them support. We also do one-on-one sessions every month with our members. We have a community, and it's all packaged up into a membership. So you get all of those features for one price, and we're loving it. We're able to support and help so many other practices all over the country. And that's what we just love to do every day.
I love that you have that resource. And I can tell you that if that was available when I was in the office, my father would have been signing up in a heartbeat, because it was what would Dayna do was our motto. So
That's funny. I actually used to own that URL.
did you?
Yeah.
I think we need to bring that back. What would Dayna do?
I know. I used to use it with Adam. I used to do this What Would Dayna Do little video segment with Adam many, many years ago. And I actually bought that URL. It's so funny that you said that.
Do you still have it?
I might. I don't know. I might have let it expire.
You got to use that. And before we leave too, because you have an amazing team on your side. And I would just love to give a shout out to Bonnie. That funny full circle moment that the first ever billing client that ever took on our company was Bonnie's office. And so she just has a special place in my heart and is such an amazing expert in Dentrix. So happy that you have her, and your offices are lucky to get the both of you.
Yeah, I love Bonnie. She takes care of our members. Like, she really takes care of the community and the members. I do all the one-on-one stuff, and then she just makes sure that everybody's engaging with the content. She reaches out to them and she's like the cheerleader, when you finish a course, she's the one cheering you on, and I love it.
Well, listeners, if you would like to know what would Dayna do, what is the best way to reach out to you?
The best way is probably to go to the Navoni website. I have a live chat. You can book a call with me. You could get all of our free resources are on the website. You could book a call with me from the website. Everything is on the website that you'll need. Yeah, Navoni. And
we'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. I know we'll have you back again because there's so many more things that we could tackle.
A lot we could talk about.
So thank you. And it was good to see everybody today.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. Thank you, Stephanie, for organizing everything.
Of course. Always happy to do whatever it takes to share and learn, just like everybody else here at Wisdom, but especially Ashley. And I just also wanted to add, with those 4 essential things you should be doing, once you dig in, if it opens some doors that maybe you feel like you did want to open, Wisdom has your back. You have Dayna's information. If you're not really sure if that's where you should start, or you just need help figuring out why you're seeing the numbers that you're seeing, reach out to us, info@withwisdom.com, or you can go to our website, withwisdom.com, and hit get in touch. Yes, you'll meet with somebody from our sales department, but they are very, very well versed and always there to consult, even if it means you don't want to sign up to be a client. Till next time. Thank you for joining us on today's journey through a new era of dentistry with your host, Ashley Bond. With Wisdom and their network of industry leaders, each episode offers fresh insights and support in the evolving world of dentistry. Subscribe, stay tuned, and transform your career, practice, and patient experience. Until next time, keep innovating, keep caring, and stay smiling.